Donald Trump's not the Antichrist. Donald Trump is the mouth. He's just a mascot for the Antichrist. The Antichrist isn't one person. The Antichrist is people. That's what that first beast and then that red beast in chapter 17 is. The first beast in 13, the red beast there, the whole world. It's an Antichrist world. And what Antichrist means, John tells you. It's very clear. An Antichrist is somebody who denies that the Spirit of Jesus Christ, the anointing of Jesus Christ, lives in our flesh and blood. So again, if you watch any of my other videos here, you'll understand who my family member was, how the whole story started in January of 2020, why we knew, why I put my trust in Jesus Christ and in the words of God rather than in the world, and rather definitely than in the United States. This is going to be a hard thing for you to see, but I want you to know that it's true. It's 100% true. So she texted and no, it was true, and she sent it back to me. Well, I kind of panicked because, again, we know something that we're not telling any of them at the time. So I waited and a few days went by, and you've seen a few more reports. This was in January of 2020. A few more reports come out. And when I realized that they were started to discuss a lockdown in that city, that there was something really bad. And when we seen that there was a bio facility, level 4 bio facility, where they were working with diseases in Wuhan, that's when I got scared finally. And with what I had already heard months earlier, I said, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. So what did I do, Anna?
Still.
I'm not going to say anything. Why do you care? I'm not going to say his name.
Okay. Well,
don't say his name. Just say, I called a family member. I don't know. We don't want to lie here.
No, you don't want to lie, but you know.
You think they don't know who he is? We're not saying his name. Regular people aren't going to know him. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a family member. Yeah. We called a family member, and we called somebody that we know would know. Right? What did he an
idea.
Yeah, would have an idea. And what did I call him for? I called him why? Because why?
Well, because you were panicking.
Yeah, what? We were hoping it wasn't.
Yeah, we were hoping because usually he said, oh, you don't worry about that.
Exactly.
This is nothing.
It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to hear.
And that's what we wanted to hear. Well, when I called him this time.
He didn't say that.
He didn't say that. Nope. And when he told me what he told me, I trusted him, and that was the beginning of my problems, is I shouldn't have, probably. I should have done this video immediately after that. I didn't want to betray him, and I wouldn't do that now. But I should have done something at that time, but I didn't because, again, we did what? We did what he said. He said what? Told us to trust, yeah?
Our leaders.
Our leaders. That's what he said.
And hope that they have our best interest in mind.
Hope that they have our best interests at heart, yeah. That scared me more than anything else I ever heard in my life. And we watched for the next 3 months them lie to the whole world, right? We knew that the President of the United States already knew. We knew that the generals already knew. And we knew this from my family member, yeah? So we knew for a fact that they already knew, and we knew they were covering it up. We didn't understand why, yeah? And at that time, nevertheless, he told us it didn't matter whether it got out of a lab on purpose or by accident. What did he say? It was what? It was out, and they had to deal with it, yeah? And when I asked him how bad it was going to get, he said, well, it's going to get pretty bad, but I think we've got it under control, right? So he told me in a nutshell to just calm my you-know-what down and not leave my wife, yeah, and family. He said stay where they're at because they're going to need you, yeah? Anyway, so when he told me that, I understood at that time they had a vaccine, right? And you'll understand why the vaccine is important here later. I understood they had a vaccine, so I trusted him. And I had, even though been told something months earlier, I was too embarrassed to bring that up I thought for sure he would think I was friggin' crazy if I said something like that to him, you know. But we had been told what had happened. Let me put it to you this way. We had been told a few months earlier through a video that was suggested to us, a very small group of people online, yeah. And when I say small, I mean at that time there was only a few hundred people that I know had watched the video, and that's why none of it made any sense. It seemed completely ridiculous at the time.
Yes.
But now that I understand we've been involved in a information war between various countries' AIs, I understand this was done by somebody's AI, and it was done to like sow seeds of distrust and dissension in different populations. You probably had the same type of video sent out to a lot of other people that might be in the know and know certain things just to undermine them enough in their faith in their government, right? Well, this video said that a particular group of people over in the desert, yeah, that they're really the ones running the show, and that they were the ones that were going to release a virus, yeah, that was going to go around the world, and then there would be a targeted program to get rid of people like us, yeah, that know too much, right? I was too embarrassed to tell that to my, but I knew, like, we heard this in the fall of...
Yeah, and we thought, no, there's definitely something to it.
Now you'll understand why we panicked, and I called my mom, and I called my family member, yeah, the other family member that told me everything, because we wanted somebody to tell us it wasn't true. Well, they told us it was friggin' true, and that scared us to death. And then when we seen everybody lie so well out of the government for the next three months, well, you know, our brains just started doing this. We were looking from all directions trying to figure out what in the world was going on. Because
and what's going to happen, and how do we prepare ourselves for it.
And she can tell you at one point what happened when I was outside. I was out in the back, and you got upset. You came out the back door.
Oh, yes. He was just sitting like that, staring into space.
Yeah.
Just sitting and staring into space.
I was staring into space because some of the stuff I had read.
And I was like, what are you sitting here for? Like, we have to do something. Yeah.
Well, I was doing this because what I had read concerning what they've released out of this lab, it didn't come out of a lab the way most of us are thinking. This, we're just going to tell you in a nutshell, whether you want to believe it or not, this is apparently what's went on here, and they're hiding from everybody. They know this too. They probably understand that this is where it came from. They just don't know who did it. And when I say they, I mean the governments around the world. They know somebody did it. But there's a small group of people that have the ability to do something like this, and I mean COVID-19. They just don't know, because it's a large enough group, who's responsible for it, yeah? It appears to be that this spike, the spike protein specifically, that it was designed by artificial intelligence. And when I say that, again, it's not, we don't mean that in a theatrical way.
No.
This is a very, explain to it's a...
Yes, it took him, really.
Yeah. This is a
couple years to
figure out and see who the culprits may be and who they may pin this on. And they're probably going to pin it on Jeffrey Epstein. And most likely that's going to go, and I mean, you already see Leon Black, I think his name is Leon Black, from one of the big investment firms there that's got hemmed up in this as well recently. There's some big names that are going to go down over this before it's all over, and it's probably going to wind up back on, that country in the desert's doorstep that thinks, that they've been told, you're so great, you're the chosen people, These poor people have no freaking idea what's coming their way. They should have known, there's that saying, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Well, I don't know, they should have, because the bottom line is, there's also something from the Bible that tells you, Moses talks about the law of the scapegoat. Well, the scapegoat gets all the sins of the people put off on it, and it gets let loose out in the desert. They got let loose out in the desert. That's what I'm getting at. They are in humongous trouble. And that's who we're worried about right now, because we actually feel sorry for them. They have no idea how bad this is going to go down on them. And that's what they've been covering up with COVID, is what it boils down to. Somebody did this with AI. We believe we know the three big guys that are behind it. We believe, yeah? Can I prove it in a court of law? No, can't prove it in a court of law, but they had the motive. They had definitely, one of them has the technology to have done it, yeah? Mm-hmm. And they had the time to plan it all. These three people know what they've done, yeah? One of them's proud, really proud of what he's done.
I have really good news. Today, our nation has achieved a medical miracle. We have delivered a safe and effective vaccine in just 9 months. This is one of the greatest scientific accomplishments in history. It will save millions of lives and soon end the pandemic once and for all. I am thrilled to report that the FDA has authorized the Pfizer vaccine. We have given Pfizer and other companies a great deal of money, hoping this would be the outcome, and it was. On behalf of the American people, I'd like to thank all of the brilliant scientists, technicians, doctors, and workers who made this all possible. Pfizer and Moderna have announced their vaccine is approximately 95% effective, far exceeding expectations.
Is Donald Trump no longer lockstep with his base? If you need proof that his call and response relationship of those 2016 rallies isn't what it once was, take a look at this.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how...
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine. But it's still their choice. And if you take the vaccine, you're protected. Look, the results of the vaccine are very good. And if you do get it, it's a very minor form. People aren't dying when they take the vaccine.
One of them's proud, really proud of what he's done. Really proud that he's done it and got away with nobody really understanding what he's done. But nevertheless, the reason it'll go back to Epstein and all of them is because Jeffrey Epstein, he was funding the research on this type of stuff. Yeah. He was very selective, and you'll find out George Church and another guy named Martin Novak. George Church and Martin Novak out of the program of evolutionary dynamics over at Harvard. Church, you know, was one of these first big guys working with, neural networks, artificial intelligence to do protein folding. Yeah, right? And you do a little bit of looking into this, you'll find out what it is. Basically designing synthetic proteins, you know, and that's using the artificial intelligence to do it. And you tied him over to MIT Media Lab. MIT Media Lab would have took engineers, and they would have, you know, pulled engineers from different groups together. That's what Media Lab did, and maybe architectural people, and they would put them with like the bioscience people, and they would see, hey, what haven't we thought of? Well, that was right down the alley of what George Church was doing, which was using artificial intelligence to design synthetic proteins, or solve what they call the protein folding problem in biology. Yeah, and they were using basically guys over at MIT and some experts, it appears, in shape grammar, yeah, which is, you don't need to know, you just go look into it yourself, shape grammar, and convolutional neural networks, or computer vision, yeah, with shape grammar rules, I'm guessing, training them on protein languages, yeah, and getting them to design proteins. Well, you know, this was revolutionary at the time. Now it's not. You know, apparently it's out, and a lot of people are doing it. Matter of fact, one of the executives from Moderna just gave a big interview, and he discussed how they were bragging about, well, we don't even know the vaccines we're making. The guys in our lab, he's oversimplifying it, but push a button and the AI designs the vaccine. So the vaccines that a lot of the people have been getting from Moderna and Pfizer, you know, I'm guessing, they've all been designed by AI, yeah?
Moderna is a new company, and they've always had AI built into their process. Have a listen to their head of AI here, Dave Johnson, talking with representatives from MIT and the Boston Consulting Group about how they used AI to help them with sequencing mRNA and then actually designing the vaccine.
And so what we have is algorithms that can do that translation in an optimal way. And then we have algorithms that can take one and then optimize it even further to make it better for production or to avoid things that we know are bad for this mRNA in production or for expression. And so we can integrate those into these live systems that we have so that scientists just press a button and the work is done for them. And they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but then poof, out comes this better sequence for them.
Dr. Ray Kurzweil simplified this description even further for us.
So the Moderna vaccine, they actually tested several billion different mRNA sequences and found ones that could create a vaccine. And they did that in 3 days. And that was the vaccine. We then spent 10 months testing it on humans, but it never changed. It remained the same, and it's the same today.
And what you're seeing right now and why it looks like they can't get this thing under control is because the cat they don't want out of the bag, apparently, is that AI designed the protein on the virus. So if you've got a smarter AI that's designed a virus, yeah, and you've got a weaker AI that these private companies are trying to use to find the vaccine, well, this is just a simple game of chess or a simple game of Go between two computer AIs. Yeah, the smarter AI is going to win. So if the smarter AIs design the virus, the stupider AIs, they may think they found a solution through a vaccine, but it'll probably only make the problem worse. That's my guess. Anyways, in a nutshell, we're getting way off topic. This is why we know the river is drying up. They don't understand what they've done, the full extent of it. Trump is very proud of what he's done for a reason. So we're gonna go ahead and show you. If you want to know what the abomination of desolation is, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, Jesus said that, yeah. And he said, yeah, let he who reads understand. Again, they already understood at the time what Antiochus Epiphanes had done, the fourth, in 167. They thought that had already taken place. They knew a physical man going into a temple, doing something awful like slaughtering a pig.
Yeah, which God doesn't live in temples.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, and putting a statue of himself in there and getting them to worship him as Zeus, like that had already been done. They already knew this. Why would it be written then? Let him who reads understand. Well, it's the same reason, that, Paul correctly said, he sits in the temple of God showing himself that he's God.
Mm-hmm. Temple of God.
And himself.
Showing himself.
And you need to go back and reread the book of Daniel a little more carefully. It starts with that king understanding dark sentences. That means doublespeak, essentially. Say one thing, but have maybe two meanings to it, yeah? Mm-hmm. And he's real sneaky, right? And you'll see in there where he magnifies himself. And through policy, it doesn't say directly he's doing it. It says through his policy, he causes craft, yeah? Things to prosper in his hands. And through peace, destroys wonderfully.
The Trump administration National Security Advisor in 2017, retired Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, who joins us. H.R., I want to also ask you about when you were in office back in 2017, which was the first time that the U.S. gave offensive weapons to Ukraine.
Information. I think what is important is to go back to that period, and that provision of javelins, of the defensive capabilities to the Ukrainians, was really important. And the argument I made to President Trump at the time was, hey, these people who are telling you that it's provocative to provide Ukraine with defensive capabilities, actually what provokes Putin is weakness. And he was persuaded by that argument. And I think that argument is still relevant today.
Yeah, but you need to ask yourself right now, all this stuff going on, yeah, in the world, it ain't going to end well. And whose policy started it? Think about it. Yeah? Nothing happened to him the whole time he was in there except people making up lies about him. Yeah. But what he did with his help, with a couple other people with him that we know who they are, he certainly did engineer everything to kind of collapse. That's basically what he did with the help of some other people, because they knew it was coming down anyways, and they didn't want to be at the bottom of the pyramid. They wanted to be at the top. They didn't want America setting, you know, in the, you know, they didn't want the sun setting on America, in other words, right? So this is what they've done. So anyways, the abomination that causes desolation, right? Shows himself that he's God. He's proud of how smart he is and how, you know, he's got away with so much stuff, yeah? With nobody catching him, yeah? Nobody. Okay. See, the reason he lives on the 66th floor, yeah? The reason there's 21 trees in that building with 6 on each side, 6, 6, 6, is they know what the real secret of the United States is. They know who George Washington really is. Yeah, they know what it all means. Donald Trump will tell you. He's a student of Norman Vincent Peale, 33rd degree Freemason.
The best student.
The best student, that's what he said, yeah. And if you listen to his friends that went to military school with him, they're all telling you he learned how to play the game better than anybody else and break the rules without really breaking them. Yeah, he's an excellent student, yeah, and it was a challenge to him. You know, a couple hundred years ago, these are the things that these, you know, people would build, you know, to honor, you know, one of their gods or whatever. Remember, he magnifies himself higher than all the gods, yeah? But this is posthumously, this is after George Washington's dead, obviously. These were the people honoring Washington as a god, yeah, right? Just like that with the 21, yeah? What they would do is they would put their foundation stone, cornerstone, underneath them, right? In the earth, yeah? That's where they would put the seat. Well, here, if you do a little bit of digging, you'll find out originally the plans for the Washington Monument were 555 feet tall. 555. There's an old Egyptian reason for that. And you'll also find out the cornerstone is 21 feet beneath it, buried to the north and to the east. You know, where does Lucifer always say he's going to sit, you know, in the north, right? Where that's at? It's for a reason. They know. Anyways, it's 21 feet exactly, yeah? And what does this have to do with Donald Trump and all of that stuff, right? So again, what they all knew, right? All of these people running around. You have the other one. All of these people on the left that was making people like me and her, we would look at the stuff they were saying. We didn't understand why they were doing this. We're like, this is ridiculous. This guy's not doing these things. It's nonsense, yeah? You see that? It says, yeah, why are Trump's hands always making the symbol for a vagina? Yeah. Yeah. And me and her, we would see things like this. We're like, you know, the words of Paul come to my mind, you know, to the defiled and the unbelieving, you know, everything's profane. I would have never even, it wouldn't have crossed my mind, yeah, to even say something like that. Yeah. I never noticed it until people started mentioning it. You know, always making the symbol with the, you know, hands, right? Well, there's a reason, and they all understand kind of what the reason is. It's their own little thing. He makes it downward, yeah? This guy, you know, that false teacher, he makes it upward, you know? It's the whole Freemason thing, as above, so below, yeah? It's the priest and the king. The two of them together. Well, Donald Trump ain't interested in sharing glory with anybody. I done figured that much out. All the way back to that thing, you know, with the 21 at the center, if you understand what that means, and Jesus Christ keeps his promises, he showed me exactly what that means, yeah? The 4 beasts in the book of Revelation, that's the whole earth. That's God saying he's going to be in charge of the earth, not them. This is their little stuff saying that their man 777 or 21 777, 666, all that stuff. Their man sits at the center of the world. The guy who sits there is God, basically. Well, Trump, if you look at Trump Tower, yeah, that's what those 21 trees represent. Where is it? So, yeah, that right there. And by the way, I'll go ahead and tell you what that is. Solomon, yeah, the first thing he did was he made a pact with Pharaoh, didn't he? Yeah. If you do a little bit of digging into this, you'll find out what that actually is right there. Because you see it in the Islamic world too. They have the wajit, the eye everywhere, the eye of the Horus, right? It's on the back of the dollar bill. That's why you have the eye sitting over the pyramid. And then on the other side, you have what they'll tell you is the Star of David. It's not. Yeah. It's the star that they chose. Yeah. Exactly.
Star of David. He hasn't mentioned anywhere in the Bible.
Exactly. They have the Star of Remphan mentioned, which is exactly what they chose, what Solomon chose for a reason, yeah? Because Solomon made that pact with Pharaoh. And you'll see in there, he chose 300 wives, 700 concubines. Pharaoh sent him tributes in sixes. Then, you know, he gets to that point where he finally 666 or 666, yeah, the weight of gold sent to them each year and a tax. There's a reason why, because 666 or 666, it's plurality. And in the Egyptian religion, which apparently he was honoring because he had married Pharaoh's daughter, yeah, plurality means like a complete system, holy, yeah. That's what that is. That's why it's such a blasphemous thing, yeah, holy. And why he did it with gold? Well, because there's an old Egyptian reason. 7, yeah, was a symbol for gold. Yeah. 7, 7, 7, or 21. You think I'm kidding. It's not. It's right there in God's Bible. You just have to look on the outside for what the Egyptians believed and taught. 666 from Solomon, that's what it is. That's what it means. It's Horus's eye. Yeah. 666. Horus had his eye tore out by Seth and ripped into 6 parts, yeah? And it was Horus's job, yeah, after that, with help of some others, to go around Egypt and get his eye back. And he would give his eye, all 6 pieces back, right? The government, that's what that really represents, all 6 parts of society, yeah? That eye, yeah, he would give to his dead father in the underworld, Osiris. That's what it was about. That's what Solomon was doing, by the way. Yeah. Why do you think he sent dreams to Pharaoh, yeah, of, you know, what was it, 7 good years and 7 lean years? And he sent it to him in what? Dreams of, like, grain, yeah, and dreams of, like, cattle, right? Why do you think he did that? Because he was sending Pharaoh a message. Because if you look on the tomb of King Tut, yeah, you'll see the crook and the flail. Flail this was Pharaoh's godship over everything, his rule and authority. He was considered like the head shepherd because they kept cattle. You needed this for the world. And a flail is what you'd use to, you know, thresh, you know, grain, right? And he believed he was God. So anyways, these are kind of messages. I'm just telling you all this because that's what all that really means. There's no other real meaning to it. But what does it have to do with Trump, nevertheless, is Trump understood it really well. You see the triangle there? Yeah, right? See that on his building? Yeah. 6, 6, 6, 21. Remember? 21. Yeah, right here. Okay. Got it? Let's get this.
Which one?
So again, back to his hand making symbols like a vagina. That's like them making the joke about Elon Musk recently making the bid for Twitter. Yeah, at the number he did. And they all understood it. He, ha, ha, ha. He's making a joke. That's the code word for dope. It's code word for marijuana. But they didn't even realize he made it. And he used the code word for dope, for marijuana, saying, are you guys fools? You must be high. I wouldn't pay this for that company. Because Musk's involved with Trump. That's what you're going to find out eventually. Trump's hands aren't making symbols like the vagina, yeah? He's making symbols. Triangle. Exactly, it's just a triangle. He's making symbols, laughing at them, and everybody else who's dumb enough to, like, actually believe a story like that. Let me show you something. Why God's pissed at Trump and why he's upset at us. Yeah. Because you probably may not crossed your mind, but there's been triangles in front of people's faces for quite a while. Yeah. That's the top view. Yeah. Top view of the spike protein. The side, it's even scarier. And that's how we knew in January of 2020, with our background that we had and with who my family member was. When he told me this, I didn't want to believe it. I thought it had to be a lie. Now we understand that they designed that spike protein, the group responsible for it, using artificial intelligence, shape grammar rules, yeah, convolutional neural networks or computer vision apparently. And, you know, they were able to do, you know, the protein folding problem better than I guess previously anybody had ever imagined. So they could do things like this. And that's why you're hearing words like now they're concerned. You know, they're telling it's a spike, right, that's causing the problem in people from the virus. Yeah, and that the spike may be a super antigen, you know. These are words they're using now. Mainstream, they're having to. That for some reason it's got properties in it that aren't normal to a virus. It's got properties, super antigenic properties that are found in bacteria. Well, if you find out who was doing research into all this, you'll find out that was one of the Frankenstein things they were doing, was mixing, you know, things from the plant world into the viral world. Yeah, this type of stuff. Anyways, nevertheless, I genuinely believe they let this out thinking they had it under control and thinking they were going to just destabilize the planet just enough the way they wanted to pull this revolution off. Because that's what this boils down to, getting everybody across the planet to revolt and accept their new, you know, libertarian-based, American, you know, libertarian at least, constitutional-based AI government. And I think they were planning on using that as part of it. And Donald Trump, you know, he was going to go down in history as the man who fixed the problem. You understand? He saved everybody. Yeah. Because he made sure, yeah. What did I show you about that eye of Horus? Yeah. It was a mockery to God. You can see. That's why they chose that. Do you understand? Operation Warp Speed. You see what's sitting at the center? Yeah. Trump was really good at this. He understood what he was doing. And so did a bunch of other people with him. Again, as above, so below. Yeah, by the way, that's what I meant when I said, you know, one, it's the same thing. Eye of Horus here, eye of Horus here. Same thing. That's what they're telling you. That's what those 6 parts are, 666. They've done it for a long time. They don't put things underneath buildings anymore. Yeah, that's, you know, past. What was the motto of Operation Warp Speed? Where did it go? Where did that thing go?
This?
No, that. That motto, right? Again, he's dark sentences, double speak, yeah? They'll tell you it's all referencing Star Trek. Just like they'll tell you the system that Peter Thiel used, yeah, to distribute the second shot of the vaccines, or, well, Peter Thiel's company, Palantir, Tiberius, they just named it after James Tiberius Kirk from Star Trek. You have to do a little bit of looking into the whole fandom of that, and you find out that, you know, the James Tiberius Kirk, he tells you where he got his name from. Tiberius came from the Roman Emperor Tiberius. Yeah. That's the Roman Emperor who Pontius Pilate served. Again, this is who murdered, like, you know, who executed Jesus Christ. It was under the Emperor Tiberius. That's the AI program they used to distribute that second shot for the vaccine in the beginning was Tiberius. Under the Department of Defense. But what was this, you know, program, Warp Speed? What did it say to do what? Not to go into buildings, But to do what? To boldly go, basically, that's what Star Trek does, right? Warp speed. Warp speed, to boldly go where no man's gone before.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Yep, that's what he meant by that. And where he went was in the human body. That's what he's talking about. Because that is what that first shot represents. There were supposed to be only 2 in the beginning. That's how you know they've screwed up. Yeah. First shot. First shot. Yeah. Second shot. Yeah. Now is it making sense? It's all symbolism. Where did the triangles from him go? Triangle trees and all that crap. Yeah, that one. See, starting to make sense here.
Triangle.
See, he's put his seat inside of every human being that took one of those vaccines, again, unknowingly to them, yeah, that listened to that man. Is that starting to make sense to you? That's what the damn mRNA vaccines were. That's what they are. They'll tell you. Moderna will tell you. The AI designed them, and it basically creates a spike protein, not the whole virus, just the spike, and it puts the spike in your body. That is supposed to, in theory, induce the antibody, the system to create antibodies to fight off the real virus, right? Well, obviously, there was only meant to be 2 vaccines, or 2 shots given in the beginning. But they've screwed up. And now this has made it even worse. But I'm wanting you to understand, this is why that man is still taking pride, because this is his thing. And this is him doing exactly what I told you he's doing, exactly what the Apostle Paul told us he would do, exactly what the prophet Daniel told us. He would exalt himself, and he would magnify himself in his heart. And that's what he's done. He's magnified himself in his heart. So, I want you to understand this. Where is it at? Because he thinks he's completed a game here, yeah? See, Space Force, as above, see that triangle again? Right? And what do you see? The vaccine, so below, yeah? He's completed the game. That's what he thinks, right? Gotta wonder how many people know this besides him. That's the disturbing part. Because it's not over. So, you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is Daniel chapter 11. You know it really well, I'm sure. Yeah. And at the time of the appointed, he shall return and come towards the south. We know who that south is. But it shall not be as the former time, or as the time that happens later. Yeah. For the ships of Chittim, we know who the ships of Chittim are, shall come against them. Therefore he shall be grieved in return, and he'll have indignation against the holy covenant. And so shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Now I want you to think about this for a minute. Can you hold that up, Anna? Pretty well. Right up there. You see that? There's a reason we're showing you that. That's the general. It's ahead of warp, was ahead of warp speed, right? Get ready to show it. And arms. That means the military will stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. That's the human body. That's what I get upset thinking about it. That's what they've done. That's the abomination that causes desolation. Them. Right there. That's what they've done. That's how he did it. And they shall take away the daily sacrifice. Do you understand what that means? Yeah. I want to make this very clear. Well, the daily sacrifice that's taken away, yeah, is when people take that thing that are getting killed from taking it. You know, all these deaths that you're seeing recorded, yeah, that they don't have a cause for. Well, unknown deaths. Yeah, they know what the cause is. They're just scared and they don't know how to put the genie back in the bottle. Yeah, it's not an unknown cause. And the daily sacrifice that he takes away, that these arms take away. Yeah, well, I'll read you what that sacrifice is, because it's not in a building there. It's why it never made any sense. Yeah, and why it doesn't make sense to antichrists who deny that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, that he lives in us. Because we're told here, be you therefore followers of God, dear children, yeah, and walk in love. That's the eternal Spirit. As Christ, as the Anointed One, also has loved us and has given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. Every person that follows Jesus Christ and listens to God, that's the sacrifice and offering. They're dying to themselves. We're dying to this world, and we're offering ourselves to God and to the world on behalf of God by telling you the truth and by laying our lives down, if we have to get that truth out, to save people. That's what it's all about, walking in love. And Jesus told us that's the greatest commandment he had. He said, there's only two. You believe on him who he sent. I've never seen Jesus Christ the Lamb personally with my eyeballs. And this stuff, like here, that they try to, well, wherever it went, this stuff right here, that's not a picture of him at all. But I've seen him in my heart, the Lamb. I know he's true. And I've seen him in my wife. I've seen him in other people, because he lives in the real believers. And that's why he said, wherever 2 or 3 of you would gather, I would be there amongst you. Yeah? Because we would see each other. Yeah? And that's the Spirit of God. It's truth. It's life. And it's obeying his voice, the Word of God, which is who Jesus Christ is. Yeah? Out of love. And that's the sacrifice. So when this man placed this, yeah, right here, right, wherever that other one's at, yeah, he was placing, yeah, his seat in the temple of God. That's what that damn vaccine is. Now, the problem, yeah, showing himself. See, that's why he's still taking pride in it, even though the Democrats now are starting to back off. And they're starting to blame him for it, saying, hey, he's the one that eased the rules up for the vaccines in September of 2019 when he signed the modernization of vaccine manufacturing for flu vaccines, which was really just them sneaking it in for the mRNA. They needed that executive order in place to actually roll this thing out. Kind of like the same way they approved that same month, just a few days later, the only vaccine for monkeypox that the FDA has approved. That one's a little bit odd too, yeah, but again, if they knew this thing was spreading since August, and they knew that, you know, where it probably came from, it's not a shock now that we understand why our family member knew what he knew in January of 2020. So nevertheless, Donald Trump keeps taking a lot of pride in that vaccine, even though it's starting to backfire, because they're not going to be able to cover up all these deaths from it much longer, would be my guess.
Well, my friends, it's Safe and Effective Part 2. We're going to talk about some research about adverse effects of the thingamajiggy that you know what I'm talking about. And I think it's now we're at a place in society where hopefully YouTube and some of the other platforms where this will be posted will not wipe me from the internet for at least talking about articles that are being published now in peer-reviewed academic journals. One article that we're going to talk about here was published in none other than the Trends in Molecular Medicine. The title here is Adverse Effects of COVID-19 mRNA Vaccines, the Spike Hypothesis. Remember, viruses are intracellular obligate parasites. They get into your cells, they borrow your own machinery to their own benefit, they replicate, and they move on to other cells and infect adjacent cells. Well, part of that process is mediated by this spike protein, which is not benign. The nucleocapsid, there's other proteins within SARS-CoV-2 are actually benign. The nucleocapsid would have been a much better target for the mRNA-based vaccines. But unfortunately, that wasn't the target. It was the spike protein. Now, it turns out that the spike protein, it's cleaved. It doesn't stay locally within the deltoid like we were promised for a year. It is found in the prostate. It's been found in the bladder. It's been found in the uterus. It goes all over the body. And it turns out that the spike protein elicits the innate immune system. That translates into it causes inflammation. Okay, so you take an individual who's sedentary, who's overweight, who's already chronically inflamed, and you give them billions or millions of molecules of spike protein because their ribosomes within their cells are making this, it's getting cleaved and it's going everywhere. And in a subset of those individuals, it can create things like autoimmunity, inflammation. It can create Bell's palsy and neurodegenerative things and so forth. And we've been told, well, the virus infection itself also causes those things. And yes, that is true. But this is why we should have applied risk assessment. Now, it turns out that the spike protein, it's cleaved. It doesn't stay locally within the deltoid like we were promised for a year. Their ribosomes within their cells are making this, it's getting cleaved and it's going everywhere. It turns out that the spike protein, it's cleaved.
Okay, we just heard them say cleaved. These spike proteins, that's the problem. That's what they're doing. That's how they're doing the damage to people. They're moving around in the body, and from what I have gathered, this creates a lot of different problems. The word cleaved here is what you need to pay attention to. They keep telling you they're cleaved. That's the problem. They were supposed to, the spike proteins were supposed to cleave, to cells near the injection site and not travel around. That was one of the benefits they told people of taking the vaccine. The problem is that's not happened, and the spike proteins have cleaved, and from one study apparently out of Israel, they were finding effects of these cleaved spike proteins up to a year later. And I'm assuming this is after, the first injections that people received. So again, the cleaved terminology is what you want to pay attention to, because I'm about to bring something else to your attention here, and I hope this helps. I know it's true. So I'm just going to read it to you. In the book of Daniel, in chapter 2, when we start in verse 40, we read, "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things, and as iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it the strength of iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron mixed with clay."
Now, it turns out that the spike protein, it's cleaved. It doesn't stay locally within the deltoid like we were promised for a year. Their ribosomes within their cells are making this, it's getting cleaved and it's going everywhere. It turns out that the spike protein, it's cleaved.
Let me read that again.
And whereas you sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all of these kingdoms, and it shall stand.
People are starting to, even the people who were supporting it before are starting to get worried. Nevertheless, we're just telling you, that's what the abomination that causes desolation is. It's not something done in a temple over in Jerusalem. Yeah, it's something he's done. It's been done. Like the other part of the plan, yeah, that they've already put in place, kind of like this war that got started. This has all been being planned by these people, this little group of people, for years. This man had known since like the 1980s. That's what that whole, building is about. That's him telling them. I'm at 721 through 725, what is it, 5th Avenue or whatever? 721s through 725. That's literally the little horn from Daniel. Again, 33rd degree Freemason, Norman Vincent Peale. You know, if you go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 21 through 25, it's him saying, I'm that guy, 666, 21, all these things. I'm George Washington, you know. That's why Washington was made Master Mason on August 4th, 1753.
At the age of 21.
At the age of 21, yeah. The whole rotten foundation of the United States isn't what people think it is. Reason they chose August 4th? Well, according to the Talmud, that's in the Gregorian or the Julian calendar, yeah, the day that the Second Temple was destroyed. It was August 4th, 70 AD. If you go look into July 4th, 1776, you'll also find out in the Jewish calendar, what they call the Hebrew calendar, the Babylonian calendar, that's the date that the temple wall, or the walls of Jerusalem were breached in 70 AD. And that's the anniversary they chose to found the United States. See, there's a reason that eagle, has those branches, in his, claws, right? That's them saying they did it. They didn't need God to send a dove. They had an eagle, right? That's their message to God. Same reason they went, with the same thing to the moon. Look into the moon landings. July 16th, 1969. Look at what date that falls on. That's when it started. And then look at the end date, July 1969. Look at it that year particularly on the Jewish calendar. See if there's a similarity between the holidays they might have been celebrating on those 2 days and the holiday I just told you about, the founding of the United States. And then ask yourself, how many more coincidences do you need if you don't know this already? So Donald Trump knows it all.
Well, because there are more.
Yeah, there's plenty more, right? And again, you don't have to be engineers, mathematicians, physicists, any of that to do the probability in your head on that one. It's too many to be a coincidence. So we're telling you again, that's the abomination of desolation. He's done it. There ain't no going back. The river that's drying up, it's the river on this planet of life. There's nothing that they can do to stop what they've already done. They've went too far with that. The problem is, God's going to allow this to go on a little bit longer, and we have faith. Well, we have faith that He'll put a stop to it. Yeah. Now, what we are going to tell you is after April, we know something else is going to happen. Just like, by the way, the reason we weren't surprised, the reason we were wanting to go is we knew when that was going to happen. We knew it, and it happened. That's what's so scary, is you find out just how accurate the Bible is when you actually believe God. And she can tell you, it's terrifying. Yeah. Or, well, the accuracy, I guess. There's no doubt. So we know after next April, what's coming next is going to be even worse. And that is, I guess, it's a little bit too much for us to go into this video with you. We just wanted to come to you with this message about what the abomination of desolation actually is. We had to come all the way to Purge a dead city to try to make a point. Yeah. So maybe you'll help us. Maybe after April of next year, you will do the right thing when you realize what's going on. Yeah. Please. I know you can help us, and you can get this to other people who listen. We don't want everybody to die, do we? And we know that God can fix all of this. We know He can make this go away, and we know there's no hope for this earth now. What they've done, the negotiating with God part, we've done all that. It didn't stop a single thing, did it? We negotiated, we begged, I begged at least, I don't know about you. Did you, I don't know, I never asked you that, but were you begging Him not to make it so?
Yes, I did, and then I realized that it just has to happen.
It had to happen, right? Once God said it, we've done what we've done wrong, and we deserve like a lot of punishment for it. But He's been nice, and as long as you stop doing what we're doing, you know, He's forgiven us of all these things. It's okay. It's okay. So we begged, and we hoped that the things wouldn't happen. Just, you can tell them, I don't care. You can tell them about like you hoping that maybe one of the dates wouldn't happen.
Yes, because I just didn't want it to be the end so bad.
Yeah. So,
I knew if one of the things doesn't go according to Bible, that it won't be true.
That it won't be true, right? That's what, you know, deep down, that's why in December of 2020, we were arguing, I had all kinds of crazy ideas in my head. Maybe he doesn't understand, you know, I'll jump the fence at the White House. We'll try to talk to him. We'll do something, you know. We'll get some attention somehow, yeah? I didn't do it, now I regret, because I could have done it, and I don't know, maybe it might have changed things, but I don't think it would have at this point. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
But we know for a fact now, down to the, you know, you can go ahead and bet down to the hour, and I'm saying that for a reason, down to the hour. Yeah, it's accurate. Yeah, and there ain't no doubt in our mind now. That's why we're doing this public. And the reason we did this was because when the Bible showed us, showed me, showed her, same thing, not a different truth, what country we were living in, and showed us what that great beast, the book of Revelation, chapter 13 is, we were terrified. Because there's so much false teaching out there that's come from the false teachers in the world. We were still infected with that type of stuff ourselves. Mm-hmm. We still thought this was talking about an afterlife. We thought it was talking about an underworld and a world, spirit world of all of eternity. And I had nightmares about that man, Donald Trump. And you don't understand how angry, you couldn't possibly been as angry at him as I was at that point. But I was having nightmares about him melting alive in a lake of fire that false teachers tell people is what that means for all of eternity. That God is going to do something like that to anybody consciously, living but dying simultaneously for all eternity. I had nightmares of that man melting in a lake of fire. That's what me and her were fighting with. Because we knew what he had done was true. We knew the Bible was telling us the truth. We knew the gospel of Jesus Christ was true. We just didn't understand what the lake of fire was. We understand it now. Whole world's in big trouble. And if you guys don't listen to us, you'll understand too. But it will be too damn late. That'll be the problem. It'll be too damn late if you don't listen to us. And when you figure out what the lake of fire really is, there won't be nothing anybody can do for you at that point if you don't listen to us. Anyways, I had nightmares about that man. I felt so bad for him because I thought, you know, in his mind, in Donald Trump's mind, he's learned to play by the rules but break them. Yeah. Again, what does the book of Daniel say? He says he understands dark sentences. That means doublespeak, right? And I knew that that man had learned how to break the rules so perfectly with nobody seeing them doing it and technically getting away on technicalities, and the world always rewarded him for it. You know? All the way from his time in military school, all the way to building a Trump Tower, that big, you know, the crown jewel in his empire. He played the game in the world. People that hated him. That's what I'm getting at here. People that hated him. Like the people on the left that played right into his hand. They would turn around later and admire him, wouldn't they, Anna? Just like they did with the building. Because he had played by the rules and he was sophisticated, smart, and he won, right? So I felt bad for that man, and I still do to this day, because the world has made Donald Trump. It was men like me, yeah, that made people like Donald Trump, because we kissed up to him because of how smart he was and how, you know, how he had got so much. We admired him. We're responsible. For whatever happens to that man, we're responsible for it. And that's what I couldn't wrap my head around in December of 2020 after we knew what he had done. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I was having nightmares again about that man suffering for all of eternity. Well, thank God I know now the truth, that he showed me the truth, everything in here. That, it's going to be bad enough, but at least it won't be that one. God isn't a monster like the false teachers, priests, and pastors that make money off of them tell everybody they're blind and they don't understand what God is or who God is. They never understood the message of Jesus Christ. Donald Trump's not the Antichrist. Donald Trump is the mouth. He's just a mascot for the Antichrist. The Antichrist isn't one person. Any more than a city is the remains of what you're looking at here in Perga right now. This is just a skeleton. The city is a person, it's people, yeah? The Antichrist is people. That's what that first beast and then that red beast in chapter 17 is. The first beast in 13, the red beast there, the whole world. It's an Antichrist world. And what Antichrist means, John tells you, it's very clear. An Antichrist is somebody who denies that the Spirit of Jesus Christ, the anointing of Jesus Christ, lives in our flesh and blood. He's the light that lights every man that comes into the world. Jesus has told you if your light's single, yeah, you're okay. Yeah, if your light's split, or if your eye, that's how it's translated in some versions. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we need to stop because it's the quality is getting bad.
Yeah, I understand. The eye split, yeah, you're evil. That's what Jesus says. You can't serve God and the world, right? So nevertheless, the eye is the light. That's just a person's life. And we go all the way back to Genesis 9, and then in Leviticus 17, the life is in the blood. The life, which is the flesh thereof, which is the blood thereof. See, Jesus laid down a perfect life, a perfect spirit. It was the Spirit of God manifested in the flesh and blood to die for all of us, yeah, that had brought curse onto the life he had put in our blood. But those of us who repent and do what he says, yeah, let him live in us. That's Jesus Christ. That's the Messiah. The Messiah walks around the earth still to this day in our bodies. That's the Spirit of Jesus Christ. He said, if you eat my flesh and drink my blood, yeah. And he also said, if you drink my water, you know, you'll have rivers or fountains of water coming out of your belly. That's just, you're going to go and give the gospel and the good news. You're going to tell the truth out of yourself that he's put in you. It's going to be eternal life. So again, and that's what a real Christian is. It's not somebody who takes a piece of bread and a cup of like grape juice. It's not somebody who shows up at a building. It's somebody who does worship God in spirit and truth. The Spirit is love. He put life in us, and we walk in love. We offer ourselves out of love. That's what the Bible tells us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him wouldn't perish but have everlasting life. God didn't send his Son into the world to destroy men's lives, but to save them, right? So nevertheless, Trump's not the Antichrist. He's the mouth of it. The Antichrist will be every person on this planet that denies that. It's the whole society. That's what that great final beast is. And that's what's rising right now. Trump is just at the head of it. So we're going to have to stop for right now. It's getting dark.
Yeah,
so
it's just because we won't be able to use it.
We won't be able to use this. That's right.